Okay, let's get started, inshallah.
What's so?
Gia was starting.
It's really bad, you don't want.
Can't be worse than what I see. Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Ma ba'ad, we express our praise and gratitude to Allah, and we seek blessings on the Prophet, peace be upon him. So again, we are looking at wrong things people do in relationship with the unseen, and this relates to the question of Aqidah, and as we discussed, this raises a lot of other very, very big questions. Okay, looking at ayah 98 is continuing the point. Whoever is an enemy of Allah and His angels and His apostles and Jibreel and Mikael, so surely Allah is the enemy of the unbelievers. The language is very interesting. It says, it's Allah Ta'ala stopped short of saying you are a kafir, but it's almost as though you're a kafir. Right? If you're an enemy of Allah, His angels, His apostles, Jibreel and Mikael, Allah is the enemy of the kafirs. Right? And how can you also read this? If you are choosing to oppose any in that list, then by extension you're opposing the rest. If you are rejecting Angel Jibreel, then by extension you're rejecting the Prophet, which means by extension, peace be upon him, which means by extension you're rejecting Allah Ta'ala. And then continuing the point, certainly we have revealed to you clear communications, and none rejects them except for the fasiqeen. So how is this commonly understood? Very frequently in the Quran you see a connection between kufr and fisk. Fisk we defined as crossing boundaries. Fisk is behavior. Kufr is a condition of belief. Okay? That fisk, misbehavior, misconduct is the pathway to kufr. That frequently in the Quran, especially in the depictions of the idol worshippers of Makkah, they were not when they're described as kafirs, they are also described as people of misconduct, people who are taking advantage of the poor, people who are taking advantage of business transactions and such, all those things. Yeah. See the point we're making? That for me to reach a point in which I am selectively choosing what elements in the unseen that I'm supposed to believe that I believe in, if I'm selectively choosing, you can be sure I have some behavioral problems too. This doesn't mean I can diagnose you and say, all right, well, you don't believe this, that means there's something wrong in your actions. But in my self-diagnosis, I have to look at my actions. So what are we saying? My actions affect my iman. My actions affect then what I believe in. If I engage in haram actions, and I'm not talking about dislike, makruh, I'm saying haram actions that I know are haram, that are categorically haram. If I engage in haram actions, I will reach a point where my faith is going to become so shaky it's like dust, or it's like steam. See what I'm saying? That the more I get into haram, the more I'm taking something else as an ilah other than Allah. Which, going back to the point from last time, when you take something as an ilah other than Allah, then you're creating an alternate theological system. So very frequently you will find among people who repeatedly engage in haram, because of the crowd I'm not mentioning these haram things, but who repeatedly engage in haram, you will see that they will have crises of faith. Yeah. Again, don't read it the opposite way, that if someone has a crisis in faith, they're doing haram. But someone who is doing extensive haram, without tawbah, their faith will evaporate.
Like without remorse, right?
Without remorse, yeah. But I'm including tawbah as the step going further than remorse. This tawbah is a step to bring yourself back on track. I mean, does it make sense? Yeah, I think so. When the room gets quiet, I don't know if I'm talking to myself or...
It was very clear.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, everyone understood it so clearly that nothing more needs to be said. That's what I often say, like when I have when I have to give a talk and I have a Q&A, and no one asks any questions, so I'll say either I've explained myself so well you all understand, or I've baffled you so completely that you just don't even know what to ask. Yeah. Okay. 100, 101. Sorry?
You're 100. You're saying
The
I have
next two.
100 and 101.
Yeah, the next two.
That you're asking.
وكلما أحدوا أحدا نبذه فريق منهم بل أكثرهم لا يؤمنون. What is it, or is it that whenever they make a pact, they cast it aside? Most of them do not believe. So here we're given a hint of one wrong thing, and think about how small it might seem to be, which is a path to kufr. Slightly different than lying, that whenever you make a commitment to someone, you just drop it, you forget about it, you ignore it. Right? Anytime you make an oath, you just toss it aside. That is a pathway, as small as it seems, a pathway to kufr. How? I'm sorry?
Oh, I thought this was more of a reference to like the shahada kind of.
Okay.
Isn't that an oath? And if you're like just because of the previous ayahs, I don't know. I thought more of like that, not like general oath.
I would say that probably works. Right. Speaking in terms of this idea that we're speaking about fisk, the fasiqun, like what are the attributes of the fasiqun being described? Meaning the oaths here, like, okay, so what's taking place at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him? There were some people who were coming, some among the Jews of Medina, who were coming to the Prophet, peace be upon him, to pass judgment for them, even though their book already addressed their issue. But they were hoping that the Prophet would give them a more lenient and more favorable response. So they're pretending like their book didn't have anything. Right? And that's the behavior that's being described here. See what I'm saying? That they know what their book says, and they don't like the sentence or the conclusion that their book gives. So they're going to the Prophet, peace be upon him, well, what do you have to say about this? And they're acting as though, yeah, our book doesn't say anything about this.
Who was this that did this?
These were a few of the Jews of Medina. I mean, 101 explains it a little bit more. When there came to them a messenger from Allah verifying what they have, well, this is talking more about accepting him as a prophet. A party of those who were given the book through the book behind their backs as if they didn't know anything. But how can breaking my oath be a pathway towards kufr?
It's like, I mean, there's usually action involved in, there's like a subsequent action that's promised with the oath, and
Okay.
You made this commitment, and you know that it's the right thing to do. So, like, kind of separating that action from the truth that you've committed to is like, in a sense, like if you carried that further and started breaking your action or stopped doing your actions with your faith, that would be the path to do that.
It's like a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't it more like character defamation? It's going like because you're having bad character or something.
I mean, this is an element of bad character, right? Good character is that you keep your trust. And what I'm suggesting is that in our era, the idea of keeping our commitments is not something that's taken as very seriously as it should, right? This idea that you have to keep your word.
How does it lead to kufr? Like, I'm so confused. Like, I can see how it can lead to like hypocrisy.
Uh-huh.
Like, kufr is like something else.
But kufr is hypocrisy. Meaning hypocrisy is a type of kufr, right? It's you're a Muslim on the outside, but a kafir on the inside. Right.
So what do you so like, there are people, I think, just to your point, I mean, I've heard so many times where people say, wallahi, or I promise.
That's what we're saying. So you got to be cautious about these things.
I will promise that I will do it on, I will get this to you by Thursday.
Yeah, and then you're like,
Knowing full well that they have no intention.
That's what we're saying. Yeah.
Of getting it to you by Thursday.
That
I don't think that's like.
that we should seriously look at words as action, right?
I know what you're saying.
And we have this overall sense in our modern outlook that, okay, how serious something is involves how many people are relates to how many people are involved, how much effort is involved. So if it takes just a second to say, it's not really a big deal. It's a white lie, right? And we're saying that when you're making a commitment, it takes no effort on your tongue to make this commitment, and it is something horrendously serious. Right? Takes no effort at all saying, yeah, I'll take care of this. But in terms of our mindset of the world today, it didn't take me any effort to say it, so it's not a big deal for me to not follow through. We're saying no. If you're going to say something, if you're going to make a commitment, you absolutely should seek your best to fulfill the commitment. You know, it's like a recalibration of how you look at action. That very repeatedly, statements of the tongue can be the source of tremendous reward, or statements of the tongue can be the source of tremendous punishment. And those statements are so light. It's so easy to say, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, yeah, I'll do this for you. It's so easy to make this false accusation, to say this lie. Right?
You know, the time at the time of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the culture of the Quraysh and the tribal culture was really. I don't know if it was you that mentioned this, or if I heard this in somewhere else, that they were really strong on keeping their oaths. You know, that's what they were known for. In fact, there were non-Muslim historians or people that went through the travel routes. You know, and they said there's one characteristic of Arabs that is just profound, is their seriousness in taking oaths. You know, that maybe at that time, if they didn't keep their oath, then it would be bordering on kufr. But now it's like when you say, I'm going to bring you this on Thursday, we're not really, you know, taking it as an oath per se. You know, it's not as serious. I don't know.
I'd say
an
that's
infraction as it would be at that time.
I think it's like a thing about Christianity and Islam, because like it's like trying to divorce la ilaha illallah from your actions. Like, so you, like in Christianity, you know, people can say, oh yeah, I believe in God, but like it's, you know, Jesus died for my sins, so I don't really have to do that much more. And I feel like Islam, like, I think this ayah is kind of reinforcing that everything you say, like, and the big thing we say is la ilaha illallah, has to come with action. So like, I think, you know, I think that's the big thing, that's kind of like a faith thing here, or like an aqidah, or a bigger thing on question here, is that when you say something, when your tongue says something, like the action has to be there. And I think that's like the big thing, difference in Islam from Christianity, is that we say la ilaha illallah, and then there's all of these, like, but can we actually pray? Does, you know, are we going to keep our oath about that? You know, I think that maybe.
that the claim has to be backed up with action.
But like, I'm thinking to like the original definition of kufr that you gave, like willfully hiding the truth. You know? And I mean, not really.
So here,
still struggling with this idea.
This would no longer be willfully hiding the truth, right? This is essentially embodying rejection. Right? So now add essentially a second definition of kufr then.
But like, if I tell you like, oh okay, yeah, I'll get you your book by Tuesday. Okay?
Yeah.
And I don't see you on Tuesday or whatever. I give it to you on like Friday instead.
Yeah.
Did I break an oath?
Well, the person's relying on it. What if the person really do it on Tuesday?
I mean,
What if like I was waiting there?
Yeah.
I'm like,
But, like,
when's
if
she
you-
coming?
if you, like,
And I
needed it-
sleep there on the corner that you were supposed to meet
It
me.
rains.
Yeah.
But like, if you needed it or not, like I said, I would do it. Or do I have to be like, oh, I promise? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, okay, so a lot of that's going to be culturally dictated, right?
Like
But
person.
part of something is anytime in the future. Yeah.
Or pass.
Yeah.
Or pass.
Yeah, or pass, yeah. Never understood that, yeah.
It's beautiful.
I guess, no, because
Yeah.
I've heard somebody talk about this
Yeah,
before,
I think
about
it
the
does.
idea of,
Yeah.
you know, that for when the Quran says in kuntum mu'minin,
Yeah.
that it's not that automatically if you didn't do that, then that moment you're a kafir,
Right.
but that, you know, if you do not do that action, that leads you down a path that could lead you to a lack of iman. So
Repeated behavior.
similarly,
Repeated behavior.
repeated. So, or if that becomes part of your character, that may reflect down a path that you are no longer in the fold of iman. That so that if you have the character of somebody who repeatedly breaks their oath, not so not by a lapse, not that I forgot to give the book on Friday, but that every time somebody sees you, okay, oh, don't, there are people like we used to, without, since nobody here can even say this, that it was somebody who, we knew as a group, we never traded call with that person because they said when they give it back to you, they would never, if that's sort of your characteristic, maybe that's a reflection of your character that may lead you down path. If you know that that person is untrustworthy with their word, as opposed to a lapse that you may be willing to forgive them for, just as a reflection of things.
Yeah, I would definitely say that if it's like a one-time thing, even a rare occurrence, that's different than that's your expected behavior.
I think I can understand that more, like just like if it's like a repeated thing and it becomes part of your character, that can lead to.
Like, go ahead.
But what it like? Yeah, can you like define it? Oh, because like if I say I promise like this is gonna happen, but if I say like, oh yeah, I'll give it to you by Tuesday. Like,
so the attitude I should have when I'm making the oath is if I'm giving you specifics, then I'm going to fulfill the specifics. That's the attitude I should have. Otherwise, I should not make the claim. Right. So throw in probably. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'll have it for you by Thursday probably.
Or
Hopefully.
inshallah.
Yeah, but see, you don't want to hear inshallah.
Let's call everybody.
Inshallah should be there no matter what you say.
Inshallah should
Right.
be if you actually meet. So there's the Hyderabadi version of inshallah. There's in Arabic it means if Allah wills. In Hyderabadi it means if Allah forces me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is not
my
the
soul
actual.
will God, my car starts driving.
Yeah.
That should not be the way it's used.
Yeah.
Try, inshallah.
It might be that, like, I'm just, in terms of the kufr, like, it may be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't know, but maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, like, if you continue to break your oaths and if you don't act in a trustworthy way, like, that those seeds of doubt and, like, and those seeds of disbelief might grow in your heart. Like, not necessarily, like, it might not be A leads to B, it might be the other way.
You just lost me in the very last point.
I was just like I think we're thinking of
Anytime
this.
algebra is thrown in, I used to be a good math student, but not anymore.
No, I think we're thinking of this like if you become untrustworthy,
Yeah.
you will become a kafir. But maybe it is that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will, or those seeds of doubt will grow in your heart, and that will, like, when you act in an untrustworthy way, that as a secondary thing, seeds of doubt will also grow in your heart.
Yeah, I say that works. Yes, Alma.
When we're talking about like oaths and fulfilling them, are we talking about like with other people or with Allah?
Yes and yes.
Yes and yes, so
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. Like, think about it this way. Like, if you keep making a commitment to someone and you disregard it regularly, what are you effectively saying with the value of that person?
You don't like value them.
Yeah. And so if you are not valuing another person, that's essentially another very bad attribute. Yes, sir?
Also, you become an untrustworthy person, which is the worst part.
Yeah. I have a student who, when he says he's going to call me on such and such day, I know for a fact he's not going to call me on that day.
I was like, man, this is like a really good
Yeah.
kid. He's gonna call like
Yeah.
right at the dot or something.
So I had a conversation with him today,
awful.
and he says he's going to call me tonight. I know for certain he's not going to call me tonight, but I hope to God he calls me tonight. I even want to call him. Right?
I'm going to send him a message saying, call me, just so that you can keep your word.
Yeah. I mean, I've had those conversations with him. And, I mean, in his defense, he has a zillion, trillion things on his mind. Maybe that's him. Yeah.
You shouldn't say
Maybe
Sorry?
that's him.
it. Then he shouldn't say it. I find
That's the point that I'm
I
making.
get like irritated.
You're like,
I guess
I'll
that's what
try.
he's trying to tell all of us, that we're kind of in the habit of making random promises
I
that we
can't
really
take
can't
enough.
keep.
Yeah, maybe that student's in this room. No, I'm kidding. Yes, sir.
Why don't you give a person the benefit of the doubt?
Oh, I do. I mean, he's still my student. I'm not like dumping him aside and everything, right? He's been my student for quite a few years. And he's mashallah, he's awesome in every attribute. This one attribute, it's like, I know, not going to happen, right? I know he's going to call me. He's going to say he's going to call me, and he's not going to do it.
Generally untrustworthy in other people.
In my experience, he's amazingly, militantly trustworthy in everything. Yeah, except this thing. Yeah. Meaning holistically, he's a very, very good person, mashallah. But this one thing, I'm going to call you. No, it's like I know tonight I can relax. I'm not going to get a phone call from him. Yeah. Whoa, is this happening? Oh, that was weird. Yeah. So my sister's calling me. That was weird. Yeah.
Oh my god, did she?
If I
She's
I
probably
might
like,
have
"Why are you
sent a
talking about
text-
him?"
I might have sent a message just to say, "Can you call
Okay.
When you were like, is this happening? It was like one of those, is this real life?
Yeah. Okay. This is all setting the stage
Seriously.
for Ayah 102.
Is that
Well, maybe we should save Ayah 102 till next time because we're already at 7:50.
Just
Yeah.
Okay, I'll introduce it.
What about the gins?
Yeah, this is Ayah 102.
It's like
It's
cliffhanger
not
every
gonna end
week.
it.
I know.
Oh, I've been waiting for the gyms.
I know
Like,
you have.
Okay. I mean, what we're talking about is very, very heavy
He's
stuff.
like, oh no, the
Next time
gins.
comes
He remembers your class from 2 weeks ago. He's like,
beginning
oh,
of
no,
class,
the
I said
gins.
this is the gym class.
This is gym class,
It's okay,
yeah.
we can wait.
Yeah.
It's like not keeping up.
You want me to turn?
Oh, it was like not keeping a word. Oh, that was pretty deep right there.
next one? Say I'll get ready.
But you know, we kept saying this is going to be the gin discussion. It's not the gin discussion, so we didn't keep our word.
We.
Do you want me to turn off the lights?
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Oh my god.
Just saying bloody.
Have you tried it?
Yeah, I did. I have older sister. Obviously, she like pushed me in the bathroom.
Yeah, and then one night we did it at the
God,
birthday
this is
party, and
scary.
this girl, one of my friends, like, I saw them, and she, like, went in the corner of the room, and she was, like, all upset. I was like, you're such a liar. Obviously, that's not true.
Okay.
This is a long time ago.
Like 2 weeks.
It was scary.
Okay.
2 years.
واتبعوا ما تتلو الشيطان شياطين على ملك سليمان. And they followed what the shaitans essentially taught of the mulk of Suleiman. Okay, وَمَا كَفَرَ Suleiman. Okay, this is actually a correction of something we find in the Bible. In the Bible, a'udhu billah, as you may know, almost all the prophets are associated with some very big sins. And Suleiman alayhi salam is associated with worshiping his wife.
Whoa.
And so this is a
Bibi
correction.
Kabalam.
Sorry?
Bibi Kabalam.
Yeah. Let's try to keep the class G-rated. Yeah. Okay. So this is correcting that. In fact, I don't think that any big sins are associated with Musa alayhi salam, but Noah has big sins. Dawood has big sins associated with him. Lut has big sins associated with him. Meaning the person himself, not the Qawm, not the community. So you frequently find in the Quran, you know, such and such person was not a kafir, was not a mushrik, so forth and so on.
When they changed these stories, you know, and basically said these guys committed these sins, was it John the Baptist that made up these stories, or who were the ones that actually?
Well, it wouldn't be John the Baptist, he was a prophet.
Yeah. So who was the one
You're
that?
talking about Paul, you mean?
Paul, probably. It might have been.
Okay.
It might have been him. Because if you read, if you look at the whole narrative, it seems like what fits is that it's elevating the greatness of Isa alayhi salam in the Bible, right? But it's still also consistent in Jewish readings of the prophets. The Jewish readings of the prophets are these people who are very horrendously flawed people, right? But they're devoted to God.
But like, they don't even call them prophets though. They call them like predecessors or something.
Patriarchs, kings,
Yeah.
and such. Yeah.
But this, like, because we were doing like medieval like Christianity or something, and there's like one idea in medieval Christian belief that like the patriarchs won't, like, because they aren't baptized, that Jesus will have to bring them from the top level of hell to heaven.
So,
And I was like, that is so messed up.
yeah.
No, it's like literally like, you know.
Yeah, but this was Solomon, a prophet
In
the
Islam,
Bible.
in the Bible, he's called a king.
Yeah.
Solomon and David are called kings. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. Sir.
If they're called kings and such, then it's I think like for them it would be like okay to say they're flawed since they're only kings,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like
Yeah, that logic
like,
works.
Sort of making themselves feel like a little like high or something.
Yeah, like in our tradition, when we call them prophets, we're saying essentially that they do not disobey Allah Ta'ala, right? That they are intellectually brilliant. That's another thing that's in our depictions of these prophets, that they're the smartest people of their communities. Good. Okay, So they followed what the shaitans taught from within the reign of Suleiman. Suleiman was not a kafir, but the shaitans did kufr. They taught sorcery that was sent down to the two angels in Babylon, Harut and Marut. Think about this. The knowledge is coming from angels. Yet these taught no man until they said, okay, we are only a fitna. Do not become a kafir. So the angels are teaching this knowledge that is dangerous for the amount of people. What are the angels effectively teaching? The materials that get used for black magic. You know, we talk about jinns. Jinns are one thing. Black magic is something different. And black magic might involve the use of jinns or not. Black magic is its own force. And I may have mentioned that I took a class on the history and philosophy of science. Did I talk about that? Okay. I mean, it's not the point of the class. I'm not talking about the fact that I took the class. But in the class, the teacher, who is by all means secular, this and that, he said that if we read these medieval books, they all talk about something called magic. Okay? And the way their magic is being described, you see steps taking place, resulting in a consistent conclusion, and people are witnessing it. Meaning, it looks like a science, but we have no explanation for what it is. And he says we have to keep this category open for this thing called magic because we don't have an explanation, but it passed the tests of what we would call a science. You do this step, this step, this step, and it results in this totally unexplainable result. If you do this step, this step, this step again, same result. And people can see the result happening. It's a science, right? And so he's saying that magic is something real. We don't have an explanation for it. Why would this knowledge be coming from angels? Okay.
Question?
Yes.
So then what is black magic? Najat is asking, what is black magic?
So that's what we're essentially talking about. That is essentially, or black magic, well, here, put it this way.
Black people magic.
Oh my god.
I don't know him.
Okay. You're from Ohio, eh? Okay. Okay.
No, that was Omer.
Okay. So.
Oh, it's Omer.
What?
This is Omer.
It's Omer.
Omer Ali?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay,
Oh,
suddenly.
from the dad, it's the black magic. Woke me up.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, essentially in a nutshell, black magic is magic when it's used for evil. But the point being that from our perspective, all magic becomes black magic. Yeah. So why would this be coming from angels?
So like, why is God created on the earth like, to tempt and test us, right?
So why give us knowledge that will tempt us?
Like, that's like what the earth is, though.
It's a test.
Test answer for almost every Islam question.
It's a test. But it is a test, though.
Okay. So in a simple nutshell, they're also being given knowledge to be aware of when other people use it.
Well, like,
Right.
how would they even use it if they didn't know what it was?
If it was never revealed, how would they?
That it may be something that other people can accidentally discover.
Oh, I see.
So, like, for example, some people in the community need to know the tricks of argument, need to know theological matters of the unseen, so as to provide an antidote when it starts creating a mess.
I mean, come on, didn't you read Harry Potter Defense from the Dark Side?
There it is.
Come on.
That's it. Yeah. So see what we're saying? That there is some knowledge that is harmful, but then there's also some knowledge you need to have to protect others from the harm. So they're giving this knowledge, but they're being told, don't use this. Yes, sir?
But at the same time, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, then the whole science could be removed, like, regardless of if it was accidental or not.
He could, but he allowed it to be available. Yeah.
And it actually says in this ayat that it doesn't affect you unless Allah wills it to affect you. So if you trust in Allah, it will not affect you.
You can't hurt anyone except by Allah's will. So they said we are only a fitna. We've talked about the definition of fitna before, right? The literal definition.
No.
Fitna, that is the word they use, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Fitna refers to purifying gold.
Purifying gold?
Yeah. So you find some ore in a mountain or something, or in a mine, and then you heat up the metal to get rid of all the impurities. That's fitna. Okay. So how does it play out? That when you are hit with struggle, the impurities will be removed from your iman, or your iman will be removed from the impurities within you. Right? That when you're hit with struggle, that's what happens. Either it's going to strengthen you in faith, or it's going to break your faith. So, whichever is your default state.
I felt like it was more like discord, like
So-
causing discord in the community.
So in terms of the root, it's purification of precious metal. Right? In common usage, it's chaos, discord, all those things. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that, okay, if you're causing fitna in the community, you're purifying the whole community. Right?
Yeah,
Only the
so-
core members.
Yeah. Because you may be actually causing people to leave their iman. See, I don't think fitna is actually in this ayah.
At the time of
Yeah.
when this knowledge was revealed to
Yeah.
through these angels Harut and Marut,
Yeah.
what was that knowledge being used for at that time?
Well-
Like, what was the therapeutic sort of potential for that?
Well,
If
it seems that the era of Sulaiman alayhi salam is sort of like what we saw in the children of Israel. The difference between that Sulaiman alayhi salam had control, right? He could
Wind
talk.
and
He
so on.
can control the winds. He could talk to the ants and birds and stuff. And so it seems as though this fits for that time. It's about controlling natural forces.
It's like, it's not إنما نحن فتنة فلا تكفر.
It is?
It's
Okay, maybe I should learn Arabic and then I can find these words. Yeah. Okay, so what is it saying is the essential goal and result of this? To separate husband and wife. How does that fit? When you separate husband and wife, what do you do? Yes, Suleiman.
Well, I heard this before somewhere. When you separate the mother and the father, really, you're pretty much giving up all, like, sort of like taking, like, the children almost,
Okay.
and, like, giving them, like, filling them with, like, bad deeds or something. I don't know. I can't really explain it. But
Okay, no, but that was good. Yeah, separate.
They're sort of like spoiling the bloodline, I guess.
Okay, explain.
Like if you if the kids go astray because of that, and then they get married to someone weird, because of that, and then the whole bloodline
Sorry.
comes from nice Muslim family to like corruption for like the whole, for like
Jersey City.
generations over generations.
Okay.
You're informed.
Okay. I would say yeah for both of you, because what is happening? You're tearing apart the core unit of society, which is family. When you tear apart the family, then you're going to wreck the kids, right? When you tear apart, and we're talking about tear apart here, right? That this is what happens. So you are effectively destroying society. Right?
So they're saying like the fitna magic can destroy